The first gift Kael Aurelian gave the boy, who had lived under his name for 18 years, was a warning written across the back of his own birth certificate. Do not light the seventh lantern. Beneath the east garden, someone is still waiting to be remembered. Soren read the message twice beneath the banquet table. Across from him, Kael was smiling for the nobles. He had returned to the floating city that morning, wearing a borrowed black coat, and the silver eyes found only in House Aurelian's bloodline. By sunset, half the capital had gathered to watch the lost heir reclaim his family. Soren had expected anger. He had not expected Kael to save his life before dessert. A servant approached with two ceremonial cups. One was gold, the other was silver. Tradition required the blood heir to drink from gold and the adopted heir to drink from silver before the family crest. The ritual supposedly represented harmony between blood and loyalty. Kael reached for the silver cup first. His sleeve struck it. The cup fell and shattered across the floor. Black smoke rose from the spilled wine. No one else seemed to notice. Kael laughed and apologized to the servant. Then he lifted the gold cup and looked at Soren over its rim. The message remained beneath Soren's fingers. Do not light the seventh lantern. At the head of the table, Lord Cassius Aurelian stood. The hall quieted. Behind him, 6 blue lanterns floated around the family crest. A 7th hook remained empty at the center. For 18 years, Cassius announced, our house mourned the son taken from us during the Meridian Uprising. Lady Eveline placed one hand on Kael's shoulder. Her face was composed, though she had been crying since his arrival. Today, Kael has returned. Applause moved through the hall. Soren's younger sister, Lyra, clapped twice, then stopped when she realized no one else at their end of the table had begun. Kael looked toward Soren. There was no triumph in his eyes, only warning. Cassius continued. Soren was raised as our heir because we believed our bloodline had ended. He served this house with discipline and intelligence. For that, he will be compensated. Compensated. Not thanked. Not loved. Compensated, like a bridge engineer dismissed after construction. A legal clerk carried forward 2 documents. The first restored Kael's name, inheritance, and command over the Aurelian Skyfleet. The second removed Soren from the family register. Cassius pushed both toward him. Sign. Lady Eveline's fingers tightened around Kael's shoulder. Lyra stared at her plate. The officers, tutors, and servants who had known Soren since childhood watched without breathing. Everyone had expected a scene. Soren picked up the pen. Kael spoke before he could sign. We could both remain. The words sounded generous enough for the guests. Only Soren heard the strain beneath them. Cassius frowned. This has already been decided. Kael turned toward the room. Soren has lived here 18 years. I returned this morning. Removing him tonight seems cruel. Several guests murmured approvingly. Soren understood the performance immediately. Kael wanted the family to believe he was merciful, or he wanted someone else to believe it. Soren signed. The scratching of the pen sounded louder than the applause. He placed the Aurelian signet beside the document and stood. Lyra finally looked at him. Where are you going? To pack. You don't have to leave tonight. Cassius answered for him. The transition will be easier if it is immediate. Soren met his father's eyes. For 18 years, Cassius had trained him to recognize weakness in negotiations. He had never taught Soren what to call it when the weakness belonged to a parent. Then immediate is best, Soren said. Kael rose halfway from his seat. Soren! He wanted to say something privately. The banquet hall was full of listening faces. Soren folded the birth certificate and slipped it into his pocket. "Enjoy the wine," he said. Kael's expression darkened. Soren walked out before the servants replaced the silver cup. He did not go upstairs. His luggage had been packed for 6 months. The moment investigators found Kael alive beyond the northern border, Soren understood what his family would do. Cassius believed affection weakened succession. Eveline believed blood could correct any absence. Neither of them would risk scandal by keeping 2 heirs. Soren collected one case from the cloakroom. It contained clothes, engineering tools, personal records, and a brass compass that had never pointed north. His late tutor, Master Oren, gave it to him at age 12. "When the house finally tells you what you are," Oren had said, "this will tell you what the house is." At the time, Soren assumed old age had made the man poetic. Oren died 3 weeks later. The compass had spun uselessly ever since. Outside the manor, rain struck the suspended bridges of Veyra. The capital floated above the clouds on 7 enormous engines known as the Hearts. House Aurelian controlled the engines, the storm barriers, and every official who claimed the arrangement was temporary. A motorcycle waited beyond the gate. Its rider wore a gray pilot's coat and had cut her dark hair with the same knife she used on engine cables. Talia Voss lifted her visor. "You took 11 minutes. There was paperwork. Did they cry?" "My mother did earlier." "For you?" "No." Talia considered this. At least the evening maintained consistency. Soren climbed behind her. "Take me to Lower Ring. You own an apartment in the upper city." "Owned." "You have money." "Temporarily." "You have a plan?" "No." Talia started the engine. "Good. Your plans make everyone work late." They drove away as the manor lanterns disappeared into the rain. From an upstairs window, Kael watched them leave. He held the unbroken gold cup in one hand. A faint black stain had appeared along its rim, too. Kael did not drink. Lower Ring hung beneath the polished capital like an unfinished thought. The upper districts had gardens, marble towers, and bridges covered against the rain. Lower Ring had exposed pipes, crowded workshops, and mechanics who could rebuild an airship from parts officially classified as waste. Talia's family owned a repair dock called the Crooked Wing. The sign had been straight before an engine explosion. No one bothered correcting it afterward. When Soren entered, 12 mechanics stopped working. Old Mara Voss emerged from beneath a cargo glider. She had raised Talia, repaired royal ships, and insulted 3 generations of government inspectors. Mara looked at Soren's single case. "So they chose the blood boy." "Yes." "Did you set anything on fire?" "No." "Disappointing." She pointed toward the stairs. "Room above the parts cage. The window sticks. Rent is paid in useful labor." Talia removed her gloves. "He has several accounts." "Not by morning." Mara was correct. By morning, House Aurelian had frozen Soren's trusts, removed its name from his identity, reduced his academy access, and frightened 6 companies out of agreements he had negotiated. Most messages did not ask whether he was all right. They asked whether his contracts still mattered. One message came from Lyra. "Are you safe?" Before Soren could answer, it vanished. Someone inside the manor had deleted it remotely. The second message came from Kael. "The silver cup was not for you. They expected me to switch them." Soren stared at the words. Talia leaned over his shoulder. "That sounds comforting in a murderous way." Kael knew the cups were poisoned. Both? He says the silver one wasn't for me. Then who was supposed to drink it? Soren unfolded the birth certificate. The ink of Kael's warning had begun to fade. Talia placed it beneath a work lamp. The message brightened again. Heat ink, she said. Border smugglers use it. Soren turned the paper over. The official certificate listed Kael's parents, birth hour, and blood resonance. In one corner, almost hidden beneath a state seal, was a symbol of 7 overlapping flames. Talia's humor disappeared. I've seen that mark. Where? Inside the oldest heart engine. House Aurelian claimed the 7 hearts responded only to its bloodline. Talia maintained the engines. She had never believed the official story. At dawn, she took Soren beneath the city. The maintenance lift descended through cloud and rain until Veyra's foundations appeared overhead. Enormous rings of bronze, crystal, and humming blue light. The first heart occupied a chamber larger than the manor. 6 flame symbols glowed around its control arch. The 7th had been scratched away. Soren held the birth certificate beside it. The designs matched. His brass compass began to move. For the first time in 6 years, the needle pointed somewhere. Not north, up, toward the Aurelian estate. Someone buried beneath the east garden, Talia said. Or something. Your first night without a family, and we're investigating a poisoned succession ritual beneath a floating city. I can leave if this is inconvenient. You still owe rent. By breakfast, Kael had learned that being chosen was not the same as being welcomed. Cassius introduced Kael to ministers while correcting his posture. Eveline burned the clothes he brought from the border. The physician collected 6 tubes of blood, and a tutor delivered a schedule that allowed almost no sleep. No one answered when he asked for Lyra. He found her in Soren's former room. She was sitting on the floor beside an empty shelf. You deleted your message, Kael said. My father did. You can call him father. I was talking about mine. Kael closed the door. Lyra was 16, small for her age, and had spent most of childhood following Soren through engine rooms while pretending not to be afraid of heights. She looked at Kael's silver eyes. You resemble Mother. So I've been told. You don't resemble Soren. I would be surprised if I did. That wasn't an insult. It sounded efficient enough to be one. For the first time, Lyra almost smiled. Then she saw the red mark around Kael's wrist. What happened? The family physician tested my resonance. Soren's tests never left burns. Perhaps I am more authentic. Lyra stood. Don't say that. Why? Because they will. Kael watched her leave. He had spent 12 years imagining this house. During the border war, the woman who raised him described marble halls, a gentle mother, and sisters who would recognize him immediately. Whenever food ran short, she promised his real family was searching. 3 months before her death, she changed the story. She told him House Aurelian knew exactly where he was. Then she gave him the birth certificate and warned him about 7 lanterns. Kael returned for answers. He had not expected the false heir to sign everything away without fighting. He had not expected the servants to compare every instruction to Soren's. Soren allowed the cooks to purchase locally. Soren knew the guards' children by name. Soren repaired the West Bridge instead of replacing it for appearances. By noon, Kael hated hearing his name. By evening, he understood why everyone kept saying it. The storm barrier failed over the southern district, only for 9 seconds, long enough for lightning to strike 3 towers. Kael was taken to the control chamber. Cassius placed him before the heart interface. Give the command. I don't know the sequence. It is instinctive. It isn't. Cassius's face tightened. Soren activated the barrier when he was 13. Then call Soren. The room became silent. Cassius stepped closer. You are the blood heir. The storm does not appear impressed. An engineer hit a cough. Cassius ordered everyone out. Then he struck Kael across the face. Not hard enough to injure him, hard enough to define the relationship. You will not embarrass this family again. Kael tasted blood. Did Soren embarrass you often? Soren understood duty. Is that why you removed his name before dessert? Cassius raised his hand again. This time, Kael caught his wrist. The blue lanterns along the walls flickered. For 1 second, the heart responded. Cassius smiled. Not like a father, like an investor who had finally seen a machine operate. Kael released him. That smile frightened him more than the blow. The next day, Kael visited the Royal Academy, while its council debated revoking Soren's engineering fellowship. Cassius had ordered him to take it. Instead, Kael entered the meeting and said, "The fellowship belongs to its creator, not his surname." A student asked whether he had reviewed 6 years of work overnight. No, Kael admitted, but everyone in this room is prepared to resign if I steal it. No one denied it. Outside, Kael found Lyra waiting beside a public lift. You defended him, she said. I defended the academy from becoming quieter. You could visit him. Would he want that? No. Then why suggest it? I want to know whether you listen when people say no. Kael laughed. You are testing me. Our family does that. Do you choose him too? Lyra thought before answering. I choose the brother who stayed when I was sick, taught me to fly, and took blame when I broke Mother's observatory lens. I didn't have the chance to do those things. I know. Her answer contained no cruelty. That made it worse. In Lower Ring, Soren earned rent by repairing school gliders. He reorganized the dock. Mara moved everything back. Talia turned his inventory board into a sculpture titled The Death of Spontaneity, and the mechanics voted against his shift schedule. At House Aurelian, people obeyed before he finished speaking. At the dock, an apprentice named Nico asked why 6 times and rejected the answer twice. Soren found it exhausting. He also slept better. The compass continued pointing toward the east garden. Talia obtained old construction maps from a retired gardener who accepted payment in engine oil and gossip. The garden had been rebuilt 19 years earlier, 1 month before Soren appeared at an Aurelian charity clinic as an unidentified infant. Beneath it lay a sealed chamber. No official record explained its purpose. They entered during the festival of First Flight, when the upper city was distracted by fireworks. Lyra left a service gate unlocked. She denied this later with impressive sincerity. The east garden was filled with white lantern flowers that opened only at night. Soren's compass led them to a stone angel. Talia pressed the birth certificate against its chest. Nothing happened. Soren placed his palm over the 7-flame symbol. The statue moved. A staircase opened beneath the flowers. The chamber below contained no grave. It contained names, thousands of them. They had been carved into copper sheets covering every wall. Some belonged to Aurelian heirs. Most did not. At the center stood a glass coffin. A young woman lay inside, unchanged by time. Her hair floated around her face as though she were underwater. The brass compass pointed directly at her heart. Talia approached the inscription. Amara Vale, first warden of Veyra. Soren knew the official history. Amara Aurelian founded the city and bound the hearts to her descendants. But the woman beneath the garden had no Aurelian name. Her eyes opened. Every lantern in the city went dark. For 3 seconds, Veyra began to fall. Then the hearts restarted. The woman inside the coffin looked at Soren. "You took long enough," she said. Talia jumped backward and drew a wrench. Soren had seen her face enemy pilots with less alarm. Amara sat up as the glass dissolved around her. She examined Soren, then the certificate. "Which one are you?" "The adopted heir." "Blood?" "No." "Chosen?" "Not anymore." Amara smiled. "Then perhaps you are useful." She explained the history House Aurelian erased. The hearts never answered to blood. They answered to vows. When Veyra was built, thousands of workers entrusted Amara with the city's protection. Their promises powered the engines. Her descendants inherited nothing except responsibility. 3 generations later, the family wanted ownership. They created the lantern rite. 6 lanterns stored public loyalty. The 7th concentrated that loyalty into one person. To light it, the house required 2 heirs, one recognized by blood, one recognized by the people. The blood heir received command. The chosen heir was erased from every heart that trusted him. His relationships, promises, and name became fuel. Soren looked at the copper walls. The names. "Those who were erased," Amara said. "Why are you alive?" "I refused to complete the first rite. My brother sealed me here and used my name anyway." Talia looked toward the ceiling. "Kael warned Soren. Then the blood boy knows." Soren remembered the poisoned cups. What was the poison for? To weaken resistance before the rite. The silver cup had been placed before Soren. Kael switched it. But if both cups carried residue, someone had expected either boy to interfere. Amara touched one of the copper names. "The family does not care which son survives. It cares that one controls the hearts and the other becomes power." Above them, bells began ringing from the manor. 1, 2, 3. The festival crowd cheered. Amara's face changed. "The rite has begun." At the manor, Kael stood beneath 6 burning lanterns. Cassius had told him the ceremony would confirm his authority. Eveline had dressed him in the founder's silver coat. Lyra was locked in her room after refusing to attend. The 7th lantern hung above an empty chair. Soren's chair. Kael understood too late. Cassius held out a ceremonial knife. "Your brother will arrive." "He is not my brother when you need a sacrifice and a stranger when he needs a home." Eveline's face tightened. "Do not be dramatic." "You poisoned him." "A sedative." "You expected me to switch the cups." Cassius did not deny it. Kael looked around the hall. The ministers, officers, and engineers were not guests. They were witnesses. The family needed them to believe in the chosen heir before transferring that belief. "You never searched for me," Kael said. Eveline stepped forward. "We never stopped. The woman who raised me sent 12 letters." Silence answered. "She said you knew where I was." Cassius's voice hardened. "The border was unstable. You left me there because Soren was easier to train. We made the decision that protected the city. And now? Now you will." The 7th lantern began glowing. Across Veyra, people heard Soren's name whispered through the streets. Mechanics at the crooked wing stopped working. Students at the academy looked toward his empty seat. Lyra pressed both hands to her bedroom door and suddenly forgot why she was crying. The rite was already taking him. Soren felt it beneath the east garden. A memory disappeared first. He knew Lyra had once broken something precious. He could no longer remember what. Talia grabbed his arm. Your name just vanished from the dock registry. Amara pointed toward the city core. The lantern can only be stopped from inside the heart chamber. How long? Until no one remembers why they would stop it. Soren ran. Talia followed. Amara did not. Are you staying? Soren asked. I waited 200 years for the family to repeat its favorite mistake. I would like to see how it ends. They reached the manor through maintenance tunnels as the 10th bell rang. Guards blocked the upper bridge. Then the guard's captain lowered his weapon. He looked at Soren with confusion. I know you. You trained me. I don't remember your name. Then remember this. Cassius is sacrificing a citizen to control the hearts. The captain stepped aside, not because he remembered Soren, because the order was wrong. That mattered more. At the ritual hall, Kael had cut his own palm rather than Soren's. Blood covered the founder's knife. The 7th lantern continued brightening. Cassius shouted at him to complete the command. Kael threw the knife into the floor. I did not cross a war zone to become you. Soren entered as the 11th bell rang. Eveline stared at him. For one terrible moment, she showed no recognition. Then Lyra broke through the side door. She had escaped through an observatory passage Soren taught her years earlier. She looked from Kael to Soren. Which one is my brother? The question silenced the room. Soren could have answered. Instead, he asked, Which one taught you the passage? Her eyes filled. You did. The lantern flickered. Memory returned through choice. Not blood. Choice. Talia reached the control arch and opened every public channel in Veyra. Soren's voice went across the city. House Aurelian is performing a transfer rite. It can only continue while you trust this family with your name. Cassius lunged for the controls. Kael stopped him. They struck the floor together. Eveline reached toward the 7th lantern. Amara's voice entered the chamber from every engine at once. Ask them what lies beneath the East Garden. The copper names appeared across the sky. Thousands of erased people filled the storm barrier in blue light. Workers, pilots, children, former heirs, citizens who had trusted the family and been converted into power. The city watched. Then the vows began breaking. One district withdrew authority from House Aurelian, then another. The 6 lanterns dimmed. Cassius screamed for the officers to arrest Soren. No one moved. He ordered the engineers to close the public channel. They removed their family badges instead. Eveline turned toward Kael. You are our son. Kael looked at Soren. Apparently, that word has several technical definitions. The 7th lantern cracked. Power flooded the heart chamber. Soren saw one way to contain it. He could take command. The city already trusted him more than Kael. If he accepted the gathered vows, the hearts would stabilize under his authority. Cassius saw the same possibility. His anger vanished. Soren, do it. For the first time that night, his voice sounded warm. You were always more capable. Take the house. Take your place. There it was. The choice Soren had once wanted. Not love, not apology. A seat offered because everyone else had failed. Soren looked at the 7th lantern. Then at the public control arch. Talia, divide the command. Among how many districts? All of them. Cassius went pale. The hearts require 1 warden. Amara appeared in the doorway. No, they require responsibility. Your family simply found responsibility easier to own when it had 1 face. Talia sent the command. The 7th lantern shattered. Its light separated into hundreds of lines, each connecting to a district council, maintenance dock, school, hospital, and storm station. The city stopped falling. No air controlled it. Kael dropped into the empty ceremonial chair and laughed until he could no longer breathe. Lyra sat on the floor beside him. Soren remained standing because his knees had not yet accepted the evening. At sunrise, House Aurelian still owned a manor, but no longer owned Veyra. Cassius and Eveline were arrested for the memory rites, poisoning, and the disappearance of previous heirs. Ministers claimed ignorance until Amara produced 2 centuries of names. After 3 days of being called the true heir, Kael rejected the title publicly. "There is no succession," he said. "Only a criminal investigation with expensive furniture." Mara approved. Talia said the sentence needed editing. Lyra moved into the room above the crooked wing because the Aurelian manor had become an evidence site. Kael took the parts cage. He complained about the smell of engine oil. Nico charged him rent. Soren returned to the Academy Fellowship, not as an heir, as an engineer whose first public project was replacing the city's hereditary command system with one no family could inherit. People still chose him. Some chose Kael, too. The 2 men did not become brothers immediately. Trust arrived through arguments, shared work, and several accusations about snoring loudly enough to frighten dockbirds. Several months later, Kael found Soren beneath the East Garden, helping catalog the copper names. The empty hook for the 7th lantern had been placed in a museum case. Kael leaned against the door. "When I wrote the warning, I thought you were the enemy." "So did I. I expected you to fight me for the family. I expected you to enjoy winning it." Kael looked at Amara's original nameplate. Which one of us was the fake heir? Soren closed the archive book. Outside, Veyra's engines hummed beneath a city that finally controlled its own sky. "Neither," he said. "The inheritance was fake." Kael considered that answer. Then he placed the old birth certificate inside the archive. The warning on its back had almost disappeared. Only one sentence remained visible. "Someone is still waiting to be remembered." Now, beneath it, thousands of names had been restored. For the first time in 200 years, no 7th lantern hung above the city. And no child would ever again be asked to burn, so that a family could keep calling itself chosen.